a firm, okay, its capacity to function effectively depend on its resource capability, the quality and quantity of its resources, and their potentials to deliver results. So another thing that informs strategy, what, like we said, is the capacity of the organization. The how big or how small it is determines the strategy to adopt. The strategy Coca-Cola will adopt, or Nestle, for instance, will adopt, it's not the same strategy I will adopt if I want to start similar product with Nestle, for instance, like bottled water. So it will be different. Okay. Then the third characteristic of strategy is what? Strategic fit. The need when developing HR strategies to achieve congruence. This is very, very important. And this is the basis of this course. It means that you can't have strategy that is forward-looking. You can't have strategy in an organization without putting into consideration the human resource element, the human resource factor into it. These two must marry themselves. It is a must. It's not maybe. It's not whether. It is a must that the both of them must meet. They must run hand in hand. They must run side by side at any point in time. A very good strategy, a very good policy can be rubbished if the human resource is not strong enough to carry it on. If the human resource is not selling it out. The same thing, if your human resource is strong enough and there is no good strategy in place, they might not, even if they're achieving their goal, it might not be at the pace which they need to achieve. So strategy as well keeps people in line and in check to what they want to achieve. All right. It tells us the how, tells us what to use, whom to do it, how we are going to achieve this at the end of the day. So the formulation of strategy. The formulation of corporate strategy is best described as a process of developing a sense of direction and making the best use of resource and ensuring strategic fit. So all these terms, we will define it as the course proceed. However, like emphasized in the previous slide, that your strategy must be aligned with your human resources. Okay, it must be aligned with your human resource objective and strategy as well. Because first of all, the strategy keeps the ball rolling. Said we want to go to a place. What will be the role of the HR in getting this done? What will be the role of internal control? What will be the role of marketing? Now, once this is set out, everybody knows their role. The HR too can go on oversight duty on ensuring that the marketers does their duty in line with the strategy that has been set. So it keeps everybody on the same page. Okay, it is a logical step-by-step affair, the outcome of which is a formal written document that provides a definitive guide to the organization's intentions. Before we say this, remember, part of the advice I've given is anything you are doing in your organization, ensure it is documented. Ensure you document whatever you are doing. Reduce verbal form of communication as much as possible. Okay, so back to our strategy. It has to be a documented process that is approved. Once it is approved, it becomes a legal document of the company, meaning anyone who is going out of it is definitely sabotaging the efforts of the company. Okay, anybody going out of it is definitely sabotaging the efforts of the company. And when you're not for the team, definitely you are against the team. So it's strategy has to do with procedure and process. All right, it has to do with procedure and process. If you say that we're going to achieve this, how are we going to achieve this? Who will play what role? At what time will this person play this role? Okay, so strategy is a systematic um, a systematic way of doing things, of getting cheap things done in an organization. All right. So strategic human resource an approach that defines how organizations' goals will be achieved through people by means of human resource strategies and integrated human resource policies and practices. And what practices? As human resources, as human resource personnel, as human resource professionals and practitioners, we have to, we are there to what? To guide the company when it comes to achieving the objectives using human resources. In doing this, we have to use world best practices and various HR policies at our disposal. We have so many HR policies and documents, HR documents that as HR we need to know. There are so many of them that we can lay our hands on, starting from the labor law. That is, everybody can actually get that, or you can get the hard copy or you download. You know, there is the soft copy all over the internet. I know I have the soft copy. So get the soft copy. There's also what? The Pension Act, Factories Act, Trade Dispute Act, Trade Union Amended Act, Employee Compensation, I think Minimum Wage Act, National Industrial Courts, National Housing, Personal Income Tax, and so on and so forth. Now, all these documents are part of the document that will also guide your company in what? Driving her internal policies. And also, even in your practices, you must ensure that your practices have human face. It is very, very important because we often see this in organizations whereby they want to achieve a goal but neglect bringing human face and human factor into their policies. So it is the work of the HR to ensure that this goes in tandem with each other. Okay, how do you use people to achieve the objective of the company? Are you going to use motivation? Are you going to use leadership skill of giving people authority? Are you going to use a centralized or decentralized system? Are you going to use an autocratic system? Your objective, your industry will determine this. But in all, we have to use best HR practices and policies in achieving this. So with this now, what are the aims? You know, what are the aims of strategic HR, of using strategy in HRM? What are the aims? I want us to participate in this. This is something we should all know, with or without even this lecture, based on the introductory aspects. What do you think are now the aims of this? Okay, I just want one or two person, then we proceed. Strategic human resource management, from what has been explained, what do you think is the aim now of ensuring that we have a strategic human resource methodology in achieving our objective in place in our various organizations, be it in your church, be it in your estates, be it in your company, be it where you work, whether as an employee, as an employer. Okay. I think someone have dropped something in the chat room, and that is to get proper ROI. Yeah, Benjamin, thank you. Thank you. All right. So to align people with the organization strategy. So the fundamental aim of strategic HRM is to generate organizational capability by ensuring that the organization has the skill. Okay. Remember, when you are drafting out your strategy, you have to what? Put people where they ought to be. the people human factor you are going to use to achieve. You have to put that into consideration. So in putting that into consideration, you look at whether your human resource is what capable. Are they capable in terms of knowledge, in terms of experience, in terms of skill, in terms of motivation, and any other factor that can be put in place. So organization has skilled, engaged, committed, and well-motivated employee it needs to achieve sustained competitive advantage. All right. So it has two main objectives. First, to achieve integration, the vertical alignment of HR strategies with business strategies and horizontal integration. Now, of course, we know what horizontal vertical line is. Vertical line from up to down. Does your HR objective, does your organization objective align with your HR management horizontally or vertically? When we talk of horizontal, we can talk across from various departments, or we can talk about from the top down. When we talk of horizontally, within your HR department, for instance, how well do you articulate your policy from the head HOD to the last man who implements it? In the chat room, I can see Chinedu Victor saying developing performance management system that support strategic objective. Thank you. This is another way to look at it. So, talking about horizontal integration, how do you integrate all your internal processes to ensure that it fits to what your organization wants to achieve? If there's already an internal policy to be process of HR that's already existing that maybe has 7 days to achieve, and the organization is coming out with its own policy of maybe 5 days to achieve that due to certain factors, how do you then ensure that that 2 days is taken out and you fit in? How do you move bottlenecks within your own department? So these are things we should also look towards in our organization. The next is the second objective is to provide sense of direction in an often turbulent environment, so that the business needs of the organization, and the individual and collective needs of its employees can be met by development and implementation of coherent and practical HR policies and programs. So you see, at the heart of this strategic management in HR, the HR as a department is at the heart of it. They are at the heart of it. They are the drive. They are the implementers. They are the what they call that in Introtech, fulcrum that makes it work. Okay, so the HR department, and that is why HR department ought to be vibrant, ought to be very articulate, ought to have strength, ought to be critical thinking, ought to be strategic thinking on its own. So it is only when this is done that one can easily fit into the general objective of the company. One can then marry the strategy of the HR and that of the company as a whole. Remember as well that when you come to a company, in as much as we have a departmental objective, there's also a unit objective. How does the unit strategy and our individual individual thinking come into play to get to collectively, achieve the organization demand at any point in time? So the HR must ensure that their policies are if a company is looking at the construction company, for instance, for those into engineering, is looking at achieving a particular road project, and you need a certain amount of staff to do that. Staff who have knowledge of how previous projects was achieved. It is the duty of the HR to ensure that those staff still remain, those staff don't leave. So the HR must bring out policies, must align policies that will do what? We help in retaining staffs. it must bring out programs that helps in what? Ensuring staff remain in the company. As HR in your company, if your employee turnover is more than 5%, within 6 months, then there is trouble. Within 6 months, then there is trouble. So every 6 months, on your own as HR, and look at the what those that have left. Your employee, how do you calculate the employee turnover rate? The number employee turnover time divided by the total employee in the company, times 100, I think, gives you the percentage of what? Your turnover rate. So if from January to June, you've had more than up to 6 persons that have left your company, and you have 60. So 6 divided by 60 times 100 is 10%. So when there is high immigration of staff, how do you think now the company can achieve its strategic objective? No, it will be difficult. Why? Because the time that the company should use in achieving this, the energy is being channeled again into sourcing for new staffs. And of course, sourcing for new staff comes with another cost. All right. So the HR should also be articulate to ensure that such is reduced. Now, we are going through the strategies proper. Okay, we are going through the strategies proper. And number 1 is the resource-based view theory. After this course is taken here, please go on the internet and read this topic broadly and deeply. It's a very, very, very interesting topic. Resource-based view of strategic human resources, one of the strategy being adopted. So, to a very large extent, the philosophy and approaches to strategic human resource are underpinned by the resource-based view theory. This states that it is the range of resources in an organization, including its human resources. You get it? The range of resources in an organization, including its human resources, that what produces its unique character and creates competitive advantage. So, the resources of an organization determines the position the company will be in the market. Why do you think before customers and before applicants, some companies are considered very attractive? It is because of how they've been able to manage their internal resources, how they've been strategically able to position themselves using their internal resources, using their human power, using their material resources as well, putting them together. And that is why companies must constantly go on internal retreats, go on internal training, go on internal strategic sessions to get exactly what a direction where they want to go, to get exactly where they want to position themselves. So the resource-based view theory, it's one important strategy in human resources, because it goes a long way to tell how our human resources can be harnessed. Because when you come to an organization, a typical organization have people with different background, different personal background, different educational background, different ideologies, different philosophies of life, different motivational drives. So how has HR been able to get all this together and change it to an advantage before the company? It's only when HR can do this that it produces a unique character and competitive advantage to other persons, to other of its competitors, to other to put itself in an enviable place in the market. So it is resource-based view is how you are able to use your resources. how are you able to use the available resources at your disposal? It's not whether I have big resources or I have small resources. The one you have, how are you able to manage it? There is this common thing that happen in companies that somebody is not available, then everything that's happened will be attributed to that particular person's absence, or because we don't have we need 5 laptops to get this done and we have 4. How do you ensure that that absence, that vacuum being caused by that person is filled? That vacuum without even necessarily recruiting, or depending when you recruit for that position, you have to think strategically how the work attached to that office should be shared across, so that vacuum will not be filled, will not be felt. As well, on resources aspect, when you need 5 laptops to get this done, but you have 4, how do you make do with that 4 that you have? That is what this theory is telling us about. It's not telling us that you should have so many resources, but the one that you have, what do you do with it? How do you maximize it to put your position at advantage? Okay. So components of resource-based view. Human capital pool comprised of the stock of employee, knowledge, skill, motivation, and behavior. Okay, as said before, the components of an organization is both material and human resource. In the human resource, who makes up this pool? What is their background? What is their knowledge? What are their experience? What motivates them? What's their skill? What's their behavior? What is their attitude towards life? What is their ideology? When you are able to get this ideology, you begin to filter those that can't have refused to integrate themselves into the company's ideology. Because first is our personal attitude that that drives us. So as strategic human resource managers and in strategic human resource management, it is now our duty to look out for this and see how we can analyze our employee makeup and see how we can channel it towards to the general strategic human resource strategic management of the company. So it's based on the resources you have that you are going to work with. Okay, Mario saying proactive approach to managing employees. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. So next component is the flow of human capital through the firm. The movement of people and of knowledge. This is also another factor. This is also another factor, though we've also discussed it initially, but we'll discuss it now in full. Let's talk about the movement of persons and the flow. Of course, when people move, most of the times they move with knowledge. And that is why it's also important. We also do that in this course, that knowledge retention, knowledge management. How do you manage knowledge? It is very important. These are, human turnover in organization is part of a strategic makeup of this theory. So we have to. It's not just enough getting talent. So when getting talent, the next plan is what? How to retain that talent. If in our various organization employees don't stay long, then we are failing. We need to rethink what are those things we're not doing, what our general organization strategy that is not in line with the 21st century way of operating businesses. So we have to ensure that we retain our human resource in our organization. How do we do that? There are so many ways. That is where reward and benefit comes in. In some robust organizations, they have various, in the HR department, they now have various managers and various officers. You might have payroll manager, performance manager, reward and benefit, compensation and benefit, anyhow they want to put it. So there have to be compensation and benefits. If for any reason your organization, let's use you are producing, you are catering for 500 customers in an eatery, for instance, before now, and for a particular reason you want to start catering for 700 or 1,000 customers, and you've considered getting extra staff, or you need to run shifts. How do you go about this? Do you begin to overwork them? No. Okay, let's run shifts. In doing this, we have to work from this hour to this hour. Or if you're working extra 2 hours, or you're coming 2 hours earlier to make up for the shift period, you're going to be paid this amount. Those are just simple ways of what? Of retaining people in your organization. So we have to be able to also retain knowledge. But essentially, when you retain people, you retain knowledge. How do you retain knowledge? Part of the ways is what? Seconding people to work under another group of persons. Okay. There is what they call forgotten the name they call it anyway, but there's this occasion that they had adopted that strategy. So if today Mr. A is in this position, you will get Mr. B to be understudying the person. You get Mr. B to what? To be understudying the person. Mr. B will be, we do that, and to ensure that if he leaves tomorrow, there will be a continuation. I think in this our class, in this second phase, we are going to do what is called manpower plans or succession plan, where when one leaves, you have someone to take over from the person. It is also a strategic human resource management thing. So the next one is, okay, I think that's a message in the room. Victor, succession plan. Thank you. Exactly. Thank you. So succession plan. So dynamic process. This is the third component. The dynamic process through the organizations change and renew themselves. So it is through critical thinking of using this strategy that organization begin to look out for where amendment needs to be done, what technique needs to be adopted, how they need to change a particular way they've been doing things, what process needs to be improved on, what procedure that is not being used need to be adopted, and so on and so forth. So these are the components of resource-based view theory. Significant. What does this tell us? It highlights the importance of human capital management approach to HRM and provide justification for investing in people through resourcing, talent management, learning and development programs as means of enhancing organization capacity. Because your human resource cannot give what they don't have. So if you want to achieve something new, you need to put these people in perspective. You need to get them to understand, first of all, why you are going into this, how we are going to achieve this. In doing that, you need to invest in them by way of training, by way of more learning, more development, mentoring, executive leadership, strategic leadership. So it is when you be able to organize your human resource in the organization, that is when you can now begin to position yourself in the external market. there is a status I saw last week. It's a treat to employee well, so they don't use your wifey to look for jobs elsewhere. So if you treat employee well, there is high tendency of what them remaining in your organization, for them investing in your organization, seeing it as their own. As we go further, we're going to see ways which we can do that. But giving you some, which is what investing uh, um, in your human resources. Invest in them, because we usually say customers are king. Customers are king. We have two set of customers, but we tend not to acknowledge internal customers. We only acknowledge the external customers. So you have your internal customers and your external customers. Your internal customers are your staffs. Accounts are customers to human resource department. When they need a service from human resource department, at that point in time, account is a customer and must be treated as such. Let's use those working in bank. The cashiers are customers to those working in bulk room. Okay, so if you are and the marketers are customers to the cashiers, because when a marketer go out and get someone and the person may want to cash a check, we normally sit in bank where the marketer just go to the bank and go through the bank and get the money and give the person. So as well, the cashiers are also customers to what? Those in the bulk room. You must, as an officer in the bulk room, ensure that you give the cashier or teller cash on time, quickly to go and service his or her customers. As a HR, you should be able to manage your internal customers as well, to ensure that they give what optimum service to your external customers. There are some people, whether I like it or not, there are some organizations, there are some people in organizations that don't, they don't know how to manage their emotions. So if as a manager or supervisor, you lash it on them, definitely they're going to lash it on your external customers. So this resource-based theory is emphasizing how we should manage our internal customers with our human capital. And this process starts from talent hunt, how you get the people that work for you. There's an organization that I work then. Once anything just happens, once I just do a thing that it gets to the MDC, you say, who even employed this person? How did this person come in? That is the first question. What the person have done will not matter at that point in time first. You say it was employed by so person. No wonder. But let me see the process. I want to see the document, how the person came in, the advert, even if it's 5 years, you go to the archive, go to the DMX and get out. They will get it out, go through it. Did we go through normal process? So where did we miss it? So it starts from your talent hunt to talent management to performance management, employee relation, compensation and benefits, and so on and so forth. So it is all this that you put together that determines the capacity to which your employee can perform, the capacity to which your employee can give out, and keep your organization competitive to other organizations. So the next one is strategic fit. Strategic fit. Strategic fit refers to the two dimensions that distinguish strategic human resource management. First, vertically, it entails the linking of human resource management practices with the strategic management processes of the organization. Remember, we spoke about this vertical at the beginning of the class. Now, we're doing it in full here. So you are linking what? the human resource, the way you operate your human resources, how you manage your human resources with what your management process, your entire management process of the organization, how the organization has set its goal out. So if the board of director, for instance, brings out a policy, the CEO, the MD, but he who is at the apex, which of course is the number one drive of any policy, brings brings out a particular process to be achieved, and it goes downward to the manager. How do the human resource management fit into this? That is what this place is telling us about. How do we begin to align people to ensure that these things are achieved? What has been brought out are all achieved and at the right time. So strategic fit, we must fit in the human factor. Remember in MBA, we say we have to domesticate our business objective. So when you are doing that, you have to apply strategic fit to ensure that it fits into what you are doing in your department. It fits into what you are doing in your unit. It fits into the day-to-day operations. Vertically has to do with interdepartmental relation, the relationship between the office of the GMD and the HR, the accounts, the marketing, customer relation, and so on and so forth. So it must be linked. It's not a thing that we just discuss and it doesn't happen. That's why we say this stage we are, it's a more practical stage. It's a stage that we begin to think strategically, because it's expected that as HR, we are the drive of every organization. So once a policy comes out, it is the HR that in fact, there was, when I started my HR career newly, was the day I came late. That was about 10 minutes. It rained, so I came like 10 minutes late. And coming 10 minutes late, I was still the first staff that approached the office then. But though the MD was already there, I was like, nobody's in the office. HR, even you came late. Well, I was like, but even at that, I'm the first person that have arrived at this place. So even you, HR. So what is trying to say? Trying to say that you are the drive of this organization. You are the chief implementer. You are the one to ensure that this is happening. If you, HR, can come 10 minutes late, then another person can even come 20 minutes and 30 minutes late. So we have to ensure that we integrate human resource management, the practices, what we do, how we manage people, how we have to integrate it with what the company sets to achieve, the procedures, using the company procedures and processes. The second one is what? Horizontal. Horizontal, of course, is a straight line, maybe from your left to right or vice versa. But what does it emphasize? The coordination and congruence among the various HR management practices that is within the HR process. So if how do the HR marry its internal processes? This is also important from the beginning to the end of it. How is this married together internally? Because if the HR internally is unable to marry its own process, then how will it will be so difficult to achieve that of the wider view of the organization. It will be very difficult. So let's take, for instance, how does HR manage performance? How does HR manage performance? So we want people that at the end of every performance appraisal we do, at the end of every performance we do, we will get 85%. Therefore, when we are recruiting, we need social set of persons. We need only people with 2-1 or first class. Or people, if you don't have 2-1 or first class, you should have at least 12 years of experience. Who understand this, who understand that. People, or we need people who have initiated this and that. Now, you see, they are mind that process from recruitment. Now, how does the onboarding go? Who takes the onboarding? If it's been taken by HR officer before, okay, no. Now, for this reason, it should be taken by the HR manager, not even maybe by the onboarding manager, if there is anything like that. It's taken by the HR manager. After that, there should be training 6 months after the employee is confirmed. And when the employee is confirmed, there should be this and that. Benefits should come in. At this point in time, we should give the employee half of the wardrobe benefits that ought to be 12 months. We should give maybe like 3 months equivalent. You see, you are marrying all the internal processes together so that at the end of the period when you want to achieve a particular process, which is the end process, should be appraised at that point in time. You know that from beginning, you have taken it step by step to ensure that there is linkage between all of them. Okay, so the vertical and the horizontal is telling us how we can apply it to what in our strategic human resource management or strategic fit, how our objective fit into the general organization strategy. So it is now when this is done internally, vertically, then we can now begin to talk of how it can then fit into the general objectives of the organization. Perspective on strategic HRM. Perspective. Okay, I hope we are following. Now it's not there are 5 type of this. There are 5. This is a critical thinking because I know some of us now we know that the beating has changed, so our dancing step ought to also change. Okay, this is, as the name implies, strategy. We have to be critical thinking at this point in time as HR. From this course downward, it's not a course of there are 3 types of this. 1 is this, 2 is this. This is a course that you have to, it doesn't end in this class. After this class, you have to go online, search for more documents, search for more materials, and get more knowledge on it. So, perspective of strategic human resource management. The universalistic perspective. This is a universal relationship between individual best practice and firm performance. There's this, you always hear best practice. And a friend of mine was asking me that, who even initiated this best practice? Best practice is a universal common way of doing things. A universal common way of doing things in the appropriate manner. In law, you will hear there are big grammar like this is repugnant to natural justice and stuff like that. They are just things that are just there. They are natural. It is, let me use a very common thing. In all religion, no religion encourage stealing, for instance. No religion, I've not seen, I've not read. So those are best practice. Thou shalt not steal. We should not steal. It's a common best practice. Now, to human resource management. Universalistic perspective, which talks about the universal best practice in achieving our strategic HRM? That it is the application of universal relationship between individuals, between individual best practice, between human resource best practice in an organization, that it transcends into what? How the firm performs. Let's give a typical example. When an employee comes in new to an organization, part of the best practice is to onboard the employee. It is part of the best practice. Even in the labor law, onboarding is not clearly stated there. Onboarding is not clearly stated. So it is part of what unsaid best practice that we see in organization. So we have to apply this best practice to ensure and to optimize our firm's performances, to ensure that we get maximum performance of our employee. Remember, the strategic human resource management is based on how human resource is being used. All the whole theory and strategy we're going to be using here is based on the usage of humans to achieve what you want to achieve. The next one is the contingency perspective. In order to be effective, an organization's HR policies must be consistent with other parts of the organization. The primary contingency factor is the organization strategy, vertical fit. Remember in our previous slide, we talked about vertical fit, where your law comes down from up to down. So when HR is bringing in something new, when a law is coming from the HR to up and general, that law must also be consistent. It must be consistent with what the general organization's strategy. HR policy must not work. It can never work in isolation, as a matter of fact. Why? Because it manages people. And the people there primarily is to achieve what the organization is set to achieve. To be the to have mobile this part Michael's mobile phone in every household. That every household should have a mobile phone called Michael. Now, how will then HR fit into this using its policy? Ensure that staff comes to work on time. Ensure that staff work within the period they ought to work. Ensure that staff go on break when they're supposed to go to break. They close, and for any reason you're working extra, this staff will be paid extra for working extra hours or extra days. That in our performance management, these are what we should put in place to ensure that staff perform this way, in that way. The policies guiding performance management should be in place. What are we going to be judged with at the end of 6 months or 3 months, as the case may be, or maybe 12 months as well? So these policies will help now guide every department in whatever they are doing. When the HR have rolled a document out for KPI, and everybody's now know his or her KPI, you will know how to work. And there is policy on this is what is guiding what the KPI will do at the end of the day. If you score within this, you get a salary increment. If you score within this, you get promotion. If you score this to 100, you get promotion and a salary increment. So this is what cutting across the entire company. Now the next is what the configurational perspective. It emphasizes the importance of the pattern of HR practices and it's concerned with how this pattern of independent variable is related to dependent variable. In organization, they are dependent and independent variable. So just like the HR department. So if I may ask now, what are dependent variables in your organization and what are independent variables in your own organization, how it applies to you, your organization? Things that are permanent, that are constant. I want us to drop it in the chat room. What are those things that are constant? Those are the independent variables, which can be objective, right? So what are those independent variables that is in an organization? And what are those words? Dependence variable that maybe is dependent on those independent variables. You can just take one and drop on the chat room. So, because remember we said that this class, it's participatory at this stage. It's not a stage of we lecture you and you go. We want you to participate, to know this, so that if you are going for certification, you can proudly tell them that your certificate, you earned it. It is your hard work. Okay, I'm still waiting. I'm here to see anything drop in the chat room. So we have, I don't want to mention, I want to see if we are following at all before I begin to mention or pick an example and give. So we want to see what are those dependent variable in your organization or independent variable as it concerns your organization. Anyone, even if you can't give both, even if it's only dependent, you can give, and someone else can help you with independent variable. Those things that changes, one changes and one does not change. Let me give you a clue. For instance, sales. Where does sales fall under? Is it a dependent variable or independent variable? Cash that you use in running your organization. Yes, salary. It's constant. Okay. Sales, yes. The people there. So all we talk of constant variable, something that is fixed. In any organization, you need people to drive it. You need people to drive it. Sales is dependent on market situation. Yes. So thank you everyone. So they are dependent and independent variables. So those ones that are constant are those ones that changes. Now, the configurational perspective is taking into cognizance these two factors. That how does the HR use the HR policy, HR practices to ensure that these two factors are married together. To achieve sales, for instance, you have to train your sales point agents on customer service, how to deal with people, how to manage people, and even how to sell, how to post their sales, how to use computer, how to use the application. It is domesticated on the HR department. That is why HR should know little of almost everything. The HR should not just relax on in his or her department. HR is HR of every department. HR is for everybody and the HR is for nobody. So HR should be able to marry the two variables to ensure that the aims, the strategic objective of the company, perhaps by annual, monthly, or in 3 months or 6 months, are achieved. Then the next is organizational performance. Configuration is the structures, process, relationship, and boundaries through which organization operates. Remember, we did organizational structure some time ago, something that has to do with organizational structure. So I'm bringing it now because when you have an organizational structure, you have people in place who does what, who relates with whom. Now, in doing this, these structures have their way of doing things, which is their processes, their relationship, how they relate to other departments, and their limitations. So this is part of what determines what the perspective to strategic human resource. This is things we have to consider in what strategic human resource management. We have to take cognizance of the limitations of everything, because those are some of the things that can even equally cause conflicts in organization, where people don't know their limitations, where there is a cross between what you ought to do and what you ought not to do, when there is problem in reporting line, when there is no clear-cut processes of doing things internally, first in a department, before we need to talk of externally. So strategic human resource management perspective has to do with these four things listed on our screen: universalistic approach, organization performance, contiguency perspective, and configurational perspective. All right, so I believe everyone can hear me clearly. All right, elements of best practice approach. Elements of best practice approach. We'll take this one by one. What best practice approach entails? Number one on the list is what? Job security. Remember, it's a common thing in Nigeria that private sector don't have job security, true to a very large extent. But how do you change this narrative in your organization? Part of the ways that strategically it can be changed by having one, employment policy, retention policy, and even dismissal policy. So that someone cannot just wake up because I don't like this girl's face, I'll just tell you, look, you're fired. Or because me and this guy, we're not in the same football club, he ceased to work here. Or even in my organization, because I'm the owner, I can wake up and sack anybody. No. To correct this, it is on strategic human resource management to ensure that there is employment security for every employee. This is common where you hear people say, if you don't get this done today, this will be the end of your job. I will sack you. We hear that often now and then. So there was someone that a project manager told that if you don't do this, I will sack you today. The guy just packed his bag and started going. He sacked himself. And I asked him, why did you do that? He said, because this keeps occurring. He's always scared of, getting things done. So you can't go home and be thinking that I will sack you, will sack me. It's better I go home and now I don't even have a job. So best practice approach is part of ensuring that what the employment of your human resource is guaranteed. Ensure job security for them. The next is selective hiring. Selective hiring. There is a positive and negative side of it. And there are two ways. There are, when we talk of selective hiring, they can be, of course, there's usually general hiring where you put out and have everybody come, apply, shortlist. But there's also selective hiring, which has to do with strategically getting people to come into your team, headhunt, coaching, and so on and so forth. There's one of our boss here, whom, from what I know, he has always been, referred and called, recommended. Sir, can you come and work for us on this capacity and on that capacity? So, as HR, strategic HR managers, that is part of our duty. Because remember, we said that how one comes into the system matters. In an organization where I worked before, most HR managers don't last. They don't last. So we're not like, what is the issue? What is the issue? Now, what happened was one of the talent hunt manager had to go out on what? Headhunt. Went out to look for a good HR manager. Until today, he's the longest HR manager so far in the organization. I think he has still up to 3 years now or 4. So when you selectively hire people who are capable, you tend to go and sleep and be assured that the strategic objective of the company will be achieved. Remember, we are discussing of how we can achieve the organization strategy using human resource. If you bring someone who understands human psychology, if you bring someone who understands how humans think, how organizations also think, what the management think, what the management want, they can now marry how people think, what the management think, what the management wants, marry all of them together to get what is the goals that we set out. It will be a win-win for everybody. The third is self-managed team. Yesterday, Dr. Chidike took us on team. And we saw different types of teams. So part of this approach is what? Self-managed teams. And part of what I've emphasized is we should delegate powers out. Look at what one is capable of and delegate that person to do that responsibility. It brings it breeds creativity. It breeds creativity. Okay, it breeds creativity. People will use the opportunity to want to bring out their best. So give teams opportunity to manage themselves. Even if you are operating a centralized system, at a particular level, one should be able to take a decision and report back on the decision that has been taken. But in all, that decision must be strategic to fit into the main objective of the company. The next one is high compensation contingents on performance. This is where most organizations is also lacking. Most of our organizations, you agree with me, that most organizations is lacking in this aspect. In one of the HR policies, motivation theory is carrot and stick theory, whereby you give carrots where one deserves it and use the stick to whip when one have gone astray. To what extent do we give carrots? What we see most of the times is always use of stick, and use of stick. Okay, but in strategic human resource, we de-emphasize that. Meaning that it shouldn't, the case should not be only on using stick to achieve the goal. No, it should be rather where there is an overperformance, when there is an extraordinary performance, there should be commensurate compensation. If you are rewarding someone for coming to work, say 5 minutes after 8 or after 7, what do you do to someone who stays 2 hours after 5 or after 6? So there should also be compensation. The last place I worked, a particular guy saved the company 3 million naira, 3.4 million or thereabouts. It's okay. Take the 4 million on top and return the 400,000 on top and return the 3 million. Like that was not enough. Before he even returned that particular money, something happened again. The guy saved the company another money. When it got to the ears of the owner, he was coming to work on Monday and came with a new car and gave the staff. The guy, when he gave him, the guy said, I won't leave this company again. Well, maybe it might be out of excitement. But what happened now is that, and he also made him the head of department. Now, what's happening now is that the guy is hyperactive. What you mean active? Very active, and not just active. Now hyperactive. Please excuse me. Let me just get things done. It's raining over here. Let me change my location. Just give me some minutes because network might go off anytime. Thank you. All right. Thank you. I'm back. Sorry for the break. Just have to change my location and ensure that the network is strong. So if you can hear me, please type 00 in the chat room. If you can hear me, type 00 in the chat room before I proceed. You can hear me clearly without breaking. Okay. Okay. Okay, fine. Fine. Okay. All right, thank you. So we'll proceed. So on training of the next is what? Training to provide a skilled and motivated workforce. So we have to train people. We have to train our employees. We have to train ourselves. If you're the owner of your company, train yourself. Like, what is this kind of training? send your employees to this kind of training, even if it's just for the knowledge. Let them come and take a course in IIPM, even just for the knowledge. You will, on your own, you're going to see change of attitude. I have tried it, and it's working. Many organizations are doing it. Banks. Why do you think people will be complaining that bank work is this, bank work is that? They don't leave the bank work. Banks will send you to training, will build you. You will see no reason to leave, even without signing any bond with them. You will see no reason to leave. So we have to use training as a way of ensuring that we get our strategic approach. Now, training, apart from retention, training also plays a role in ensuring that the strategy, the objective we want to achieve, that we get our strategy right, that strategy is sunk down into everybody's head. With strategy, with training, we can sell the strategy to the people, the drivers of that, which is the human resource management, the entire human resource of the organization. It is through training. Of course, there are different kinds of trainings, technical and so on and so forth, managerial. So at any level, if what we want to achieve, the strategy we want to achieve, is based on management transition or sales, it is then we'll then know how we're going to apply this strategy. Tell them why we apply the resources we use to apply it. Teach them through. If it's something that maybe is a new knowledge, we put them through in it. Use it through training. Get them skilled. Get them energized. Get them motivated to kick off. Don't just bring down something, a new strategy, and you just expect people to fit in automatically, especially something that is novel or made in school that they don't know much about. So you have to get your employees skilled. You have to train them. You have to energize them. You have to motivate the employees. The next, reduction of status of differential. I told you of a place where I work that the MD don't behave like the MD, behave like it's very liberal. You see him, we see that security gate here, and the security person will be gisting. He will resume work maybe by 8:30. He will stay security gate and he will be gisting till 9. He will leave there, enter another department, stay in marketers, gist. And I mean gist, I don't mean talking about maybe the growth of the company. Just gist. So the staff feel comfortable going to meet the GND for anything, even up to their leave, than coming to meet you, the HR, first to process it. No, let me first meet MD. If MD agree, if he help me talk to HR, that is now their thinking. However, while I'm using, that is an extreme example though, but the point is, as much as possible in our organization, we should try to eliminate that status thing. Do you know who I am? I'm your HR. And I always tell, when it gets to that discussion of reminding, you have to remind somebody on your position, it means that there's something you're not doing right. Once you're doing it right, you don't have to remind people of your status. When you hear argument that I'm the one telling you, do you know how I'm older than you? But make your point and leave that status thing. So also in organization, we should remove manager. That's why some organizations today don't do HR. Now HR carrier, it is HR manager. Look at my HR manager. No, they don't do that. They call people by their name. Oh, Mr. Kelvin. Some don't even put Mr. Some is Kelvin. Kelvin, Esther, Sunday, Ada, just the name like that. Michael. They don't. So you find it difficult to know who is who. But it doesn't at any point in time cause that anyone disrespects any other person. For those of us that work with the whites, should understand what I'm saying. Most whites don't fancy that Mr. this, Mr. that. Just call me my name. My name is Henny. Henny dear Derek. So you can choose any of them. But call my first name. Yeah, in this part of Nigeria, we would prefer last name though, but there they will call it my first name. So we should use strategies that we want to emphasize status in organization so that people can be free. All right. The next is sharing of information. Information should be shared freely among manpower in an organization. It should be shared freely. There should be a model, either a hard copy or a soft copy model. Anyhow, knowledge want to be shared. It should be shared for the purpose of decision making. It should be shared for the purpose of giving direction to what? To the strategy being implemented. It should be shared promptly. It should be shared clearly, both among equals, whether vertically or horizontal. That covers it. So information should be shared, at least for those that need to know. And in that shared information, there are certain categories. There is one which is need to know, which is you can know it's in your position to know, to have this information. There is need to hold. Do you know this information? If it's a document that comes to you, is it a document that you just see and pass out, or is it a document that you see and withhold? So need to hold. And of course, there are so many aspects of it. We're not here to teach information sharing anyway, but I'm trying to emphasize that when information is shared, it should be clear, it should not be ambiguous, it should be timely to the parties involved, the people who will drive this strategy. So these are elements of best practice approach. All right. So we have another one, which is what? We saw this best fit initially. I told you we are coming to it. The best fit approach. Now, the best fit approach, okay, Robert Uche, your hands are up. Let me know why your hands are up. Robert Uche. Okay, please, you can unmute yourself. If you can hear me, Robert, you can unmute yourself. I could not be hearing you. Okay. Maybe we should drop in a chat room because we can't hear you. But you can drop it in the chat room so that we'll see. I don't know if you're having any challenge. I can't also find you online again. All right, so we'll proceed. So best fit approach. The best fit approach is in line with contingency theory. Of course, remember what contingency theory is. Who can remind us again what it is without looking at our books? I hope we will not look at our books so before we give the answer. So we know what contingency theory is. What the best, even the best fit has even been explained initially. So we have to, how we fit in the human resource strategy, human resource management, and the organization's strategy together. Okay. It emphasizes that human resource strategy should be congruent with the context or circumstances of the organization. Of course, exactly. All right. So it should be in tandem. It should be able to marry each other. the organization as a whole, and the objective of the HR and the objective of the general organization. Remember, when we're talking about this strategy, what we are putting in place is what we're talking about is ensuring that an organization and its manpower, meet themselves. There should be a point where both of them meet themselves. Robert, I can see you online now. I don't know if you still have anything to say. You can unmute yourself. You've dropped it in the chat room. Okay. So, HR policy, okay, this from Pius, must be consistent with other aspects of the other. Okay. Thank you, Pius. So HR, what Pius is trying to explain is the best fit theory. So remember in that best fit too, we talked about vertical and horizontal, right? Talk about vertical and horizontal. These are part of the things we should know. These are little things that will just come out in your objectives, in your exam objective for those of us that is going for the objective. Okay. Okay. So let's proceed. I don't know, Robert, if you still want to talk, just raise your hand up. Maybe if I can't unmute you, we have Dr. Chidika online. Any other person will unmute you. Just raise your hand if you still want to talk, okay? All right, so best fits can be defined, can be perceived in terms of vertical integration or alignment between organization business and HR strategies. All right, so where both of them meet, where both of them are running together, we are talking about best fit. Remember, I said you can't talk about organization strategy without human resource, organization strategy management, and without human resource management. You can't talk about both of them in isolation. They go together. They run pari passu. They run anyhow. Any English you want to use that shows that they are together. They don't run in isolation. Okay. So there are three models, namely life cycle, competition strategy, and strategic configuration, which we have spoken about before. Strategic configuration. Another approach to best fits is the position that organization will be more effective if they adopt a policy of strategic configuration by matching their strategy to one of the ideal types defined by theories such as those produced by Miles and Snow in 1978. We'll talk about Miles and Snow in the next slide. So, but we can, aside the Miles and Snow, if you go and read about this theory further, it gave so many examples, not just the theory of Miles and Snow, any other HR theory, how you can marry this strategy. It's talking about matching up an organization strategy using a particular HR theory. Maybe you want to use an employee motivation theory to adopt to this. Okay, so how do you marry it together? How do you ensure that this motivation theory and your objective are together? So it's called strategic configuration. This increased effectiveness. This increased effectiveness is attributed to the internal consistency or fit between patterns of relevant contextual structure and strategic factors. So it's telling us that the increase in effectiveness can be looked as part of what? Internal dynamics. When there's a play within internal dynamics, perhaps across inter or intra-departments, that comes to play together to ensure that these strategies are achieved. Okay, whereby you draw up, like the word here, strategic factors to achieve what you want. Types of organization. I'm still interested in, Robert, what you have to say. I'm still interested in it because I want everybody to participate. You're the first to raise hand up in this class, so I really want you to say something. I really want to say something. So if you can unmute yourself, fine. If you can't, let us know in the chat room. So if I can't unmute you, I'll tell one of our personnel to help unmute you as well. Please, in this aspect, let us pay attention to this aspect. And as we are talking about it, begin now to look at where your organization fall into. We'll talk of where organization fall into. We'll have a discussion around this. All right. So number one, we have the prospectus. Prospectus, which operates in an environment characterized by rapid and unpredictable changes. Rapid and unpredictable changes. Prospectors have low level of formalization and specialization and high level of decentralization. They have relatively few hierarchical levels. Okay. So remember I told you at the end of this, you're going to tell us where your organization fall under. And we'll also call some other organizations notable in Nigeria, and we'll look at where they likely fall under. So the next is defenders. Defenders, which operate in a more stable and predictable environment than prospectors and engage in long-term planning. They have more mechanistic or bureaucratic structure than prospectors and obtain coordination through formalization, centralization, specialization, and vertical differentiation. Vertical differentiation. Okay, so we can see that the direct opposites of prospectors are what? The defenders. The first operates in a rapid changing, unpredictable environment. Okay, internally there is not much formalization or not that centralized. They're not even much more specialized. When it comes to structure or hierarchy, it's not too strong. As well, say it's relatively few. They have relatively few hierarchical levels. But for the defenders, it's opposite, direct opposite. So we're going to look at for organization which of them applies. We still have another one in the next slide. Analyzers. Analyzers, which are the combination of prospector and defender types. They operate in a stable environment like the defenders and also in a market where new products are constantly required, like what? Prospectors. They are usually not initiators of change like prospectors, but they follow the changes more rapidly than defenders. right? Then we have the reactors. Reactors, which are unstable organizations existing in what they believe to be an unpredictable environment. They lack consistent, well-articulated strategies and do not undertake long-range planning. They do not undertake long-range planning. So with all these types of organization, the four of them, I want us to discuss our various organizations where they fall under. Okay. If you want to say something, just raise your hand up and you'll be given the opportunity to discuss where your organization, be it your business or where you work, falls under. It's worth discussing. Remember, I said this is a practical class. It's not a class that you are taught and you go home. It's a class that we would love if at least 3 persons indicate that they want to say something so that we can unmute them. Okay. So, your organization, what level are you people? What type of organization do you classify yourself? Is it a combination of the both of them or just one? Or are you primarily this and secondarily that? I hope my people can still hear me. I observe that when it gets to answering questions, it's as if network okay, someone sent me a message. I should go back to the other slide. This previous one. Prospectors, defenders, then you have the analyzers and reactors. Okay, in the chat room, we have my company falls under reactors. Okay, Margaret. Okay, so can you tell us why you think so? Margaret, you can unmute yourself and say something.
Hello, good evening, class.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, the reason why I guess we fall in that type of organization is due to the nature of business with these. We are in oil and gas, oil servicing company.
Okay.
The request of either manpower or tools, PPE, any request for the operation can easily change whatever plan we have on ground. So we do not have plans that are static. So this is what we put on ground. Oh, this is how we're going to do it. In the next 1 hour, call can come from the site, and before you know, what we're supposed to do will be the other way around. So that's why I look at it from that point, that we fall in that category perspective.
Okay. But your organization is not like a leading idea in that industry.
You mean?
Your organization is not like a leading idea. It's not. Let's use, for instance, MTN. You know, when MTN came into telecommunication, they were like the leading idea in the choosing field of your organization. I put the leading idea.
Yes, I guess the reason why ours is like that is that probably because it's a contract, it's a running contract. You understand?
Okay.
So we do not have, we are not the determinants of whatever goes on there. And there was a time I was in the office and I had a call, wearing plan. You have to bring industrial relation expert manager now. We need. And I begin to look, where will I get this person? I have to begin to crack my brain. I called someone from Ibadan. Oh, that one say, can't come to worry, they kill and they eat people, they fight. So I became stuck. And at the end of the day, we end up employing someone who does not even have the criteria. So that's why I'm saying that we are not starting. We do not have stable plan. Our plans are not stable. Any factor can change any factor on you, any plan you make on ground.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate it. Okay, that was from Margaret. Pius, you may have to say something. Mr. Pius Benjamin, you might have to say something. I'm going to, go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, class.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir. My company falls under the reactor organization.
Okay.
In the first place, we are an IT company. We provide a consultancy. We provide training for engineers and architects, basically using AutoCAD, Revit, and all that. But why I am saying we fall under this category, because we don't have a long-range plan.
Okay.
As I speak to you now, the COVID-19 has dealt a heavy blow on the company. Serious one that we are working from home, so that's what I can say. But before COVID came, we'll be having some challenges. And now that COVID has come, it has given a heavy blow on the company. So there is no long-term planning at all.
So if we don't go maybe on a session like 6 months to plan for 6 months, 12 months?
Not at all, because it is being run by a man.
Okay. So,
yes,
but I think after this your class now, you've seen how you can go back and see the reason why you should talk the company into having such kind of session, right?
Yes. I've learned a lot from this class, and I intend to discuss with my boss as soon as we get back to office.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Pius Benjamin.
Thank you. I appreciate you, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
So, just 2 persons. Where are those people working? Both banks. I will start calling names. So, we'll start calling names to come out and tell us where their own company fall under. Where are my friends? Oluwatobi, I'm waiting for you. Simi, I'm also waiting. My very good friend, Chinedu Victor. Esther, I'm waiting too. So please, people should. I know people are very active, and I know you can hear my voice. But I say type 00 now, everybody will type, or 11. So I want us to also participate. Okay, fine. We in the telecommunication industry, between MTN, Glo, Airtel, and Etisalat, which of them are analyzers, reactor, prospector, and defenders? Okay. Yes, UNICEF, Saudi Arabia, Nubi. Okay. Top is Stanbic. So where does Stanbic pension managers fall under? I'm going to unmute you now so that you can tell us where your company fall under. Okay. I don't know why it can't be unmuted. I don't know why I can't unmute you. Don't know if Mr. Chidike is there, so he can help me. I can't unmute UNICEF, Saudi Arabia, Nubi, something. Try and unmute yourself if you can, but if you can't, fine. Okay, you can't talk. Okay, all right, no problem.
Okay, Mr. Michael. Good afternoon. Yes, Kennedy.
Okay, yes, Mr. Chiedu Victor, go ahead.
Yes. All right. So for me, I think my company falls under reactors.
Okay.
For instance, we are actually into sales and supply of medical laboratory equipment.
Yes.
With the coming of COVID-19, we had to react to a particular sector of the laboratory, which become molecular laboratory. So to be able to attend to the needs of centers or institutions that need to set up COVID-19 testing centers.
Yes.
Yes. So in that way, due to the pandemic that is ravaging the whole world, so that is the angle of laboratory that most centers are now interested in. So we are responding in satisfying the customer's need by trying to make sure that the necessary equipment and consumables for the molecular laboratory is being made available.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Chiedu Victor. Thank you. Okay. So, Esther, I can see you. If you wish to talk, you can unmute yourself. If you wish to talk, okay, you can just unmute yourself. All right. Meanwhile, let's proceed. Thank you all for all that participated through their voice. All right. The life cycle best fits model. Life cycle best fits model. The life cycle model is based on the theory that the development of a firm takes place in 4 stages: startup, growth, maturity, and decline. Now, let's look at quickly these 4 stages. You see, when we talk of start, most companies, in fact, I will even think we have more startup in Nigeria than companies at growth stage. And it only takes diligence for companies to pass that startup stage. In fact, it's based on data. It says that most companies don't survive the first 6 months of their existence. In fact, 12 months, let's even just be modest, but it's 6 months of their existence. That at the first 12 months, they've rounded up, backed up, they've gone through the 4 stages in 12 months. Of course, that's not proper. No, so startup, it's that early stage of what? A company. And before one starts a company, you should be able to sit down and put your strategy in place, what you hope to achieve, where you see your company. That's why in the other class I say, draw up your mission and vision. Okay, draw up your mission and vision. In drawing up your mission and vision, you will then draw how. Of course, we know that mission is now, vision is tomorrow, right? So vision is tomorrow rather, why mission is now. So how do you want to use your mission to what? To achieve your vision. How do you want to use your mission to achieve what are the things you need? What is the manpower you need? It's at this stage, before you even go into starting up, you should have drawn this. So at startup, you begin to what? Implement this. Basically, startup can be between 12 months to 1 year, 6 months, either 12 or 18 months, depends on the company. Okay. Now, when company have break even at before the first break even, you go to immediately after the first break even, now go to the second stage, which is now the growth stage. At this point, you can say, okay, the company is now has broken even. They might not necessarily be making profit at that point in time, but they have broken. Let's use what they call this a well known company, Bolt, which is Taxifier and Uber. You know, I was analyzing their market and their work operation. You won't believe it that even as of today, they've not even gotten to maturity stage with what you are seeing. You know what they're trying to do? They are still trying to get as much as they can get from Uber, as much customers and drivers, both drivers and customers. And many of you agree with me that today, many of us are plotting to start getting both app and dumping Uber app for so many reasons. Maybe both give bonuses, it's cheaper and stuff like that. So they've not even start declaring their profits. Yes, they've broke even, but they've not start declaring profits. Okay, so after the growth stage, the next stage is the maturity stage. At this stage, those that sing with everywhere stew. It means they are making profit now. Everything is okay. They have a good structure. At this point, when employees come, they don't want to even leave the company. They will be there, right? So that is the maturity stage. Now, how do then before the declining stage? Declining stage, maybe they are now competitors, and like when telecommunication came, was at the peak of which is MTN when they started newly. What happened? SIM was sold for as much as how much then? But today, if you smile, you get a SIM. What happened? Competitors came into the market. So the life cycle best fit model also determines the kind of strategy to be adopted. So this model tells us, the kind of at what point should we change our dancing step? Because it's not the strategy used at startup that you use at growth stage. It's not the same strategy used at what? Maturity stage. So you should know at what stage you should use what to achieve a particular objective. But at the heart of this is what? The human resource strategy, using your human resource, your human capital to get what you want. So whether at the startup stage, at the growth stage, maturity or decline stage, the drivers of this is what? The human capital. We're almost rounding up. Best fit and competitive strategy. 3 strategies aimed at achieving competitive advantage are innovation, being the unique producer. Innovation, being the unique producer. When we have innovative ideas, being the unique producer. So when by getting competitive advantage, by beating your competitors, you have to be a thinker. You have to think out of the box. You have to see how you can use people to achieve what you want, to get innovative people, to put you at the top of your game. That is just exactly what types of organization is trying to tell us about. Those who invent a particular product, those who begin to react to it, those who begin to analyze the first and the second and act on it. Okay, so all this, as I said, they are practical. I'm not about being a sales manager to implement this. As a HR person, as a human capital person, as a personnel manager, personnel officer, you can drive this in your organization. Two is quality, delivering high quality goods and services to customers. It is the work of HR to ensure that your company have high quality. It is your work as HR. High quality customer service, high quality products. Ensure that they don't compromise those who are in production line. They don't compromise. Maybe, let me use a wild example. Yeah, you are producing a particular drink. And when it gets to a particular stage, this person is to put A and B together, or A, B, and C into the bottle and press the this and it moves further. And because of he feels tired and he just put A and B and it moves. A and B, it moves, or C and put a wrong combination. This will affect, of course, the quality of that particular good. When complaints start coming back, it boils down to the HR. How are the HR? You must not be there, of course. You might say, must HR be there? No. But you have to make them understand the implication of the action, whether they are being watched or they are not being watched. Of course, a good leader is not that have one doing what he says when he's there. It's even when you are not there. So service to customers, how do your customer service officers relate to customers? Once in a while, interact with your customers as HR. Do a questionnaire. Sit down in the customer care. It is on this that you can then begin to see how you can then bring out a policy that will fit in to put your company at the top in customer service or in good quality products. Cost leadership, the planned result of policies aimed at managing away expenses. Cost leadership, meaning maximizing profits using as least cost as you can in achieving this. Whatever is not needed. There is this hotel I was browsing. It's not in Nigeria. Hotel something, hotel the something, one of these Brazilian, South American countries. What it did to become the top hotel, it's a very known, if I call it, many of you will know it, that travel abroad. What it did was, it eliminated certain services that it gives. Typically, when you go to an hotel, what do you want to do? You just want to sleep and wake up the next day, right? So what it did was to eliminate unnecessary services. Bail up was scrapped out. The rooms were made smaller, but the bed were softer. So many things were just removed. What now happened was that instead of going to the equivalent of that hotel is like having Transcorp here in Abuja, in Nigeria. So instead of going to, you can get the same treatment you get in Transcorp, a 5-star hotel, in that particular hotel at a cheaper cost. So the HR should also begin to think along that line. What is that aspect of our business that is too expensive? Let me use my laundry business for instance. I was spending so much on packaging. The leather, I was using a very thick leather. I'll put sticker, I'll put ribbon, I'll put clip. Then I'll put an air freshener inside. Though the air freshener was a partner, I was partnering with an organization that gave me air freshener. Now, these 4 things I was doing that was costing me money. What did I do? I analyzed it. I watched for 400. Somebody closer to me was watching for as low as 200. The clip, do customers really need it? I'm going to look at it. Those customers really. So the clip was taken out. There was no complaint. And I'm going to ask, what? Do you notice anything? No. I said the clip is we never needed the clip before. The ribbon, was the ribbon needed? No, the ribbon was not needed. We took it out. So the only thing we have there is just the packaging leather and the flyer. And not just a flyer. Now the flyer is an indication, like a tag. Then the number of pieces, total number of pieces, and if the description of the clothes entirely. So we have to also use cost leadership as HR to achieve strategies in our various organizations. So we are almost at the end. Bundling. Bundling is the development and implementation of several HR practices together so that they are interrelated and therefore complemented and reinforce each other. Okay? When we use several HR practices that are interrelated and complement each other. Of course, all HR practices are interrelated. This is the process of horizontal integration. Remember when we talked about this in the same line, the same process, which is also referred to as the use of complementaries. Now I added sanction and reward. You have a separate reward system. You have a sanction policy and you have a reward policy. How do you then marry these two things? Okay, anybody who do not have query within 6 months will automatically in the 7th month get a 2,000 naira increment in the salary. What brings query in the first place? Not doing your job or not doing what you're supposed to do, going against company policy. So you are not just removing query, you are making people to do what they ought to do, which will even save you more than that 2,000 naira you're giving them in the 7th month. So you marry the two policies together. Okay? So the aim of bundling is to achieve high performance through coherence. Now, what is the coherence we mentioned in bundling? Coherence exists when a mutual reinforcing set of HR policies and practices have been developed and jointly contribute to the attainment of organization's strategy for matching resources to organization's needs, improving performance and quality in commercial enterprise, achieving competitive advantage. So, you see, the end of it is what? Achieving competitive advantage against who? Your competitors. So if HR does not get the manpower to abide by the company policies, to do what they ought to do at the normal time, to ensure that as they are doing it is in line with what the company have set out to achieve for the next 3 years, like Esther said, that their company bring out a 3 years roadmap. Every year and every 6 months, they go back and look at it. Are we still using this? Are we still on the using this same map to go? They will look at where are we supposed to be at this point in time. If you are that use Google Map, when you drive, if you don't have this thing, they put it in the vehicle. When you drive, you pick up your phone and look at it to know if you are still in the route. Now there will be a place to show you that you are 2 minutes slower than where you ought to go, 6 minutes slower. When there is coherence, you'll be able to look at where are you supposed to be in this your strategy. When there is a document, a strategic document, a strategic plan by the company, you have to understand that at this point, within 6 months, we ought to be here. Within 7 months, we ought to be here. When you are not there, you go back to the book. What went wrong? You analyze it. You come back again. So, as HR, there is much saddled on your shoulder. When marketing is doing their meeting, you have to be there to understand what they're talking about. Even if you're not there, they will send you the resolution of their minutes for you to know where your action is needed. If finance is doing their meeting, you have to be there, or they will send you their minutes, and so on and so forth. So, coherence is, marrying these policies together, jointly ensuring that organizational strategy matches with HR's policies to ensure what? Competitive advantage. So please, we call it a day here on this course as we prepare for the next course. Meanwhile, you can start rolling in your questions. All right, thank you so much. I want you to roll in your questions. You can drop it online. You can ask verbally your questions. My organization falls under. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, Sunday, Oxford. Thank you so much. Thank you. Questions. And I always say if you don't ask questions, it means you understand perfectly or you don't understand at all. So I don't know which of them it is, whether we understand perfectly or we don't understand at all. So please, I would like to know which of them it is if I not see question. I want to know whether we understand perfectly or we don't understand at all, so we can start afresh again from beginning to start discussing this lecture. I hope I can be heard. We will unmute everybody so we hear what is happening in your background. Between centralized strategy. Okay, oh, your project for code, that's true. Between centralized strategy and decentralized strategy, which one is best? No, I can't tell you which one is best. I don't know which one is best. It depends on your organization. It depends on what you want to achieve. Remember, you should put it in mind that what determines what is best is based on your objective, your organization, the resources at your disposal, the time you have will determine which one for you to apply. Okay. If maybe you have a bottleneck organization, thank you, Mr. Chidike, for posting the attendance. So if you have a work you want to achieve and you know that bureaucracy will take it, with delay, why not? If it's me, I will apply a centralized system where others goes straight, without too much bottleneck. So it depends on what you want to achieve. They are all good. They are all fine. It's like asking me military and democratic government, which one is better? I don't even know till today whether it is military or democratic government. Okay, but they all have their own strength and their weakness. That is the centralized and centralized strategy. Okay. So I wish you all well in your project work. Sign your attendance and let's see in the next class. Okay.
All right. Many thanks, Mr. Ikenna Michael Okafor, the SME doctor. Thank you for a wonderful delivery.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So, good evening, everyone, and thank you for participating. The next class, we'll have another class today, and it will hold 6:30 p.m. Nigerian time. Basically, it's a class we started yesterday with the programs director. So on job evaluation, so he's going to come 6:30 to complete his class. So basically, for now, we are formally done with this class. So just fill your attendance, then take, I think it's up to 2 hours rest, I guess, yeah, this is almost 4:30. Yeah, so just rest and the class will open again by 6:30 Nigerian time. Thank you very much, everyone.
I'm so sorry, sir. Hello.
Hello, yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, this is Ogogo Eleshi. I just had to call out a little bit because I still don't have a group. I think I posted that on the chat for a bit. I really don't have a group, and I explained my challenges with filling the attendance at some point. Today is okay. I've been able to do mine today, but I still don't have a group.
Okay, that's fine. I remember that yesterday I promised I was going to do something about that. There were three of you. I remember you. I remember Jeremiah. I remember I've forgotten his name. Yeah, there were three of you. So I've sent your names to the program director, and I trust that he's doing something about it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay. Yeah. Bye.
All right. Thank you, everyone. The class has ended formally, like I said. So just fill your attendance and you can go and rest and come back to class by 6:30 p.m. Nigerian time. Thank you. Who is saying that? Please add that to the score. Well, it's the program director that will decide that. I can recommend that, but whatever he decides is fine.